for all things Halloween. This is Hauntformer, and no, I'm not in my usual set today because I am back with a very special guest, Jared. You remember him, hopefully, unless you have, like, memory loss problems,
Hopefully
with my older reviews that we did quite a while back. But Jared's back with me to review his favorite horror movie,
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. Not The Night of the Living Dead, as I was corrected. So Night of the Living Dead is George Romero's classic zombie movie. It really started, I think, the modern zombie craze.
Definitely.
Before that, zombies had a different style, and I think this movie really...
They were more voodoo involved. It was more cult and stuff
Now it's more virus-y.
Yeah.
And almost more spread.
Which the original was actually... the original sort of Night of the Living Dead was caused by radiation. It was a satellite that fell.
In this movie?
And, well, it's loosely hinted at. I think in the first one. I'm not sure.
See, because when I just recently watched this movie, so I'm able to review it, and I did really like it. I knew there were Easter eggs I was missing throughout, like, the radio broadcast that they were listening to.
The radio broadcast
but
really
because just going from, like, watching a movie standpoint, not going back to rewatch it yet, I couldn't catch every detail. But overall, I thought it was a pretty solid movie. It reminded me of, like, the Left 4 Dead games, if it was a movie, sort of, because you had a few characters trying to fight off zombies. This movie was actually pretty graphic for back at the time, too.
Oh, definitely. It was released in 1968.
Now when you compare it to, like, movies like Saw and stuff like that, there's not really a comparison, but to movies back then when you had stuff like Bride of Frankenstein being compared to this is definitely more shocking. And the ending, which I won't spoil, spoiler alert, like, 40, 50 years ago. But the ending is also pretty shocking. It threw me off, too, so I won't give it away because it definitely shocked me in the end.
Yeah, definitely for me, when I saw it, the ending was not something I expected. And I mean, throughout the whole movie, like, there's a lot of old horror movies, you know, that I think Mac and I both like. Like, even the Universal Monster movies. Most of those movies have a very slow pace to them.
Yeah, they're very slow, and there's not, like, a huge build-up for anything, but this movie has a lot of
there's a lot of suspense,
scenes.
And there's a lot of realness to it, and I feel like that's what makes it stand out compared to other, horror movies, and especially, too, that George Romero made it on a very small budget, and going back to what Mac was saying earlier about it being graphic for its time, I've read online before that back when it was released, kids would go and see it because they thought it was just some goofy horror movie, and they would actually run out of the theater scared because they didn't expect it was pretty graphic.
The unexpected was, yeah. So this, I think, is definitely a pretty cool movie. If you're not, if you're looking to watch a cool zombie flick for Halloween, this is definitely your choice.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched this movie, too. If you start watching it, you'll be like, this is going to be boring, because I'll give you at the beginning, it seems like it's boring, but it definitely ramps up pretty fast. So,
but the Living Dead do come in very early on in the movie.
Yeah, they do.
So I will give them credit about that.
For the first 10 minutes, you see a zombie, which is pretty cool. So, rating-wise, I have a feeling Jared's going to give it a pretty high rating, seeing it's his favorite horror movie of all time, which rightfully so. So, Jared, what are you going to give this movie?
You're doing a five skull rating,
We're doing 5 skulls, yeah.
All right.
I'm just going to come out and say my rating, but today we'll do like an average, I guess. I'm going to say this movie is going to get a 4 out of 5 for me, so that's actually not too bad.
No, that's good.
That's a pretty decent review, I'd say. I'd say it's up there with other good horror movies that I've seen.
Definitely.
Jared, what would you give this movie?
Well, I think from my perspective, since I'm viewing it more from like a filmmaker's perspective, like quality and cinematography-wise, and entertainment-wise, of course. I mean, good cinematography doesn't mean the movie itself is good. It's also the story and, especially the script, which I think the script was great for this. So I'm going to cut to the chase, and I'm going to say I just give it a 5 skulls. Give it a 5 rating. Yeah.
So overall for George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, we're gonna say 4.5.
Yeah, sure. 4.5.
Which is a very good and very high rating. That's actually, compared to my other movie reviews, that's the same as Halloween, The Exorcist, other great classic horror movies. So while you're watching AMC's Fear Fest, watching The Exorcist and Halloween, why not flip to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead? Thank you again for Jared for being on this episode of R.I.P. Reviews. Make sure to subscribe to both Jared's channels and to Hauntformer. And remember, as always, for all things Halloween,
this is Hauntformer.